there, and it's
well,
great.
we're going to chance to introduce ourselves in a moment. Welcome to Lane. I see Lane's popped up at the bottom of my screen. Well done.
Yeah, there's Toshiko as well. Hi.
Hi, Toshiko.
So I plan to start at 7 o'clock prompt, and people can join in as we go along.
Oh, Jerry's a strict disciplinarian.
Well, we've got to make this work. We're all guinea pigs here. This is a pilot evening, really. It's a session. We tried it out the other week, but we're hoping for great ideas to come from these meetings. I'll start in a moment, welcoming everybody. Actually, it's actually 7 o'clock here now. It looks like we've got about 15, 18 people here.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Right. We're expecting up to 45. That was the number of said they would like to be involved. I see. Is that Stan now? I've just noticed Stan pop up.
Yeah. I just managed to join it, actually.
Yes, I
had a problem with Eventbrite.
Yes, you should have got a direct email from us, giving the login details. But now we all see there, I think I'll make an opening.
Mark is just joining, Jerry.
All right, I'll hang on a moment.
Little.
There's Mark, connecting to audio. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, welcome, Mark.
We are not
Hello,
worthy.
everyone. Lovely to see you.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me okay?
Mark, but is he? Oh, yes, I can see Mark now. Well done. Very timely, Mark. Now you've arrived, I can start the meeting.
Well, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I've just come straight from a family dinner, so I'm sorry to be slightly late.
It's always a relief when our main speaker's here. Otherwise, I'll have to make something up instead. So it's great that you're here, Mark.
Okay. Right. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Jerry Clark, and on behalf of the World Happiness Project, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this, our first Global Happy Cafe meeting. I want to tell you what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and what the benefits might be to all of us. So, first of all, we're going to discover what happiness is all about. We're going to listen to people around the UK and hopefully across the world and hear a number of ideas about happiness which are taking place throughout the communities around the world. It's all part of our World Happiness Project mission to increase happiness and improve mental health and well-being across the world. So in answer to the question why, well, why wouldn't anybody want to be happier? Why wouldn't you want to discover how to bring more happiness into your life? The benefits are enormous. For we as individuals, it helps us to be more kind, more caring, more loving, compassionate. And for society, it's helping us to do things for others and show how we can work for the common good. And we're aiming to help individuals learn how to live a happy life and deal with a number of problems which will arise in the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic. Things like tackling important issues such as stress, personal relationships, loneliness, self-worth, and maybe even talk about the meaning and purpose of life. And we're going to do this by promoting the Action for Happiness 10 Keys to Happier Living and explaining their whole concept of the Great Dream. So the benefits are not about money, they're about life satisfaction, enjoyment, developing worthwhile relationships, raising a family, caring for others, and stimulating the mind, the environment, and doing things for others and giving something back to society. So whatever the state of the economy or the aftermath of the global virus pandemic, we're going to look at ideas where we can improve society, things which we consider important and often seem to be forgotten at the moment. So we're inviting you to join us in this mission and change the world and make it a better place. Now, I'm just going to quickly go through how our virtual Happy Cafe will work and a few simple rules and procedures that we feel we ought to encourage you to adopt to make sure things run smoothly. So first of all, can I ask for you all to please mute your sound? There's a button along the bottom here somewhere, so you should be able to mute your sound. And then if you want to make a comment, just use the icon button at the bottom of the screen, raise your hand electronically, and leave a comment in the chat box. And the chat box is along the bottom as well. Now, Sally, who's one of our team, is going to monitor all these comments from the chat box, and you'll have an opportunity to contribute to our meeting if you want. but this is an interactive format, and I hope it will give everyone an opportunity engaging in our discussions and join in the debate if you want to. However, I guess many of you may just want to sit back and listen to the discussion, which we hope you'll find interesting and informative and inspire you to try out some new ideas and discover new paths to happier living. Finally, can you let us have your email address in the chat box so we can keep you informed of future meetings and activities? Well, I think I've said enough now by introducing the programme. I'd now like to hand the meeting over to Chris, to Julia and Dulcie, a part of our World Happiness Project team, who are going to run the meeting. So over to you, Chris, Julia and Dulcie, because together I believe we can make a difference.
Fabulous.
Yes, indeed. Thanks. Over to Dulcie, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So what I'd love to do is, because I guess some of us have gobbled our dinner down, some of us have had a fairly hectic day. It would be lovely to arrive mind, body and soul to the moment. So I've lit a candle for us all to create some calm space. And I just would love to do a 2-3 minute meditation to just bring us all into our point of our center. So maybe we just begin with a conscious breath. And I say conscious breath not lightly, because we breathe something like 20,000 breaths a day and we notice so few of them. So maybe just place one hand on your heart space and take a lovely, luxurious, deep inhale. And then on your exhale, just gently allow your eyes to close if that's comfortable, and just feel how your shoulders soften, how your body feels a little heavier in the space you're sitting in. As you inhale, notice the rush of air through your nostrils, filling you up. As you exhale, notice the path of the air as you breathe out through your mouth. And know that on these lovely long exhales, that is when our oxytocin is released. So breathing at a rhythm that feels good for you now. Breathing in waves. Maybe breathing in through the up through the front of the body. Exhaling down the back of the body. And when I refer to oxytocin, I'm talking about our hormone of love. That feeling when you get in the bath and we let out a sigh. So on the inhale, just get a sense of nourishing all, breathing in all that nourishes you. Nourishing your body head to toe. On the exhale, just allow yourself to release anything that you just don't need in this moment. So now, just after these short few rounds of breath, we've signaled to our body that all is well, that we are in our rest and digest, our parasympathetic nervous system. Our bodies can just feel lighter and more centered, and we feel much more relaxed. So from this space, just notice any thoughts that pop into your head, because thoughts have a habit of doing that. They come and they go. Maybe get a sense of these thoughts appearing like clouds, soft fluffy clouds just popping into your mind, and then just watching as they go. And then maybe smile at these thoughts. Just let that smile ripple out from the edges of your mouth. So you're not taking these thoughts too seriously. And in that space, notice that there's distance already between you and what you're thinking. Noticing that space means you can't be your thoughts. You are the observer. So maybe let that smile flow through your body. Again, at that recognition. Just watching with gentle interest, with loving kindness, as your thoughts come and go. So feel how generous your loving kindness is, and say to yourself, in this moment, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free of suffering, may I be free of mental anxiety, may I live in peace, may my life be blessed with ease. Now on your next inhale, bring someone in your life into your mind. It can be anyone. Let them pop into your mind and just let these words flow. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free of suffering. May you be free of mental anxiety. May you live in peace. May your life be blessed with ease. And on your next inhale, just considering everyone you know in your life, everyone you know in your town, everyone you don't know in your town, everyone in your country, everyone on every corner of this wonderful globe we live in, every single person on this call tonight, and just say the words, may we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free of suffering. May we be free of mental anxiety. May we live in peace. May we be blessed with ease. So just breathe that feeling even deeper into you, feeling how centered and full of love you are, and absolutely ready to begin this lovely meeting. And I'll hand over to lovely Chris.
Right. Well, thank you, Dulcie. That's great. Well, I've got an easy job, actually, because I'm going to, first of all, just hand over quickly to Sally, because we thought it'd be quite fun to get a few comments going on in the comments column. Have you all switched your comments on? Now, you don't have to do this, but what we thought would be quite fun would be if we can all put some things in the right-hand column of things that have made us happy in the last week. Where has your happiness come from? Just anything you want. If you want to share it, put it in the column. And we'll have a look at them later on during the meeting. We're going to come back to them. Sally's going to pick a few, point them out. And if you want, we might ask you to tell us a bit more about it. If you've got something really unusual in there, and if you want to share with us a bit more about what you were doing exactly, that would be great. So just put some comments in there. Also, don't forget to give us your email address if you want us to keep in touch about future meetings and things. Put your email address in the comments column as well. Did I miss anything, Sally, in that briefing there? Something that's made you happy in the last week or two?
No, that's perfect. I look forward to reading all these things.
I know. And so she's going to sift through, point a few out. You'll see them coming up. But I don't want you to not concentrate on the next section, because we are honoured, really, to have Mark Williamson with us from Action for Happiness. Can I just do a survey? How many of you know about Action for Happiness? Can you just put your hand up if you know about it? Quite a few. And so Mark is I don't know, are you the chairman of it or well, he's the boss of it. He runs it, the UK Action for Happiness anyway. And they run a course called Exploring What Matters. How many of you know about that or have been on that? Josie's big thumbs up. It's a brilliant, brilliant course. Run by volunteers, kind of a charitable thing designed to make the world better. And we've got Mark to have about probably 15 minutes, Mark, just to tell us about what Action for Happiness is up to at the moment, what's going on, tell us about events, plans. We'd just love to hear about what you're working on, really. And after that, we've allocated 5 minutes for questions as well. If anybody wants to ask Mark anything, fire away. And after that, we'll go back to your What Made You Happy list and see what we've got. And of course, we can all copy each other's ideas, although I'm not going to copy Dulcie's early morning swims in the sea. I'm definitely not doing that. But the picnic, I think I can do a picnic. That looks more like my thing. So anyway, we'll come back to the list of ideas, but keep putting them up. That's great. And over to you, Mark, for a quarter of an hour of updates from Action for Happiness.
Thank you, Chris. It's such a pleasure to be here. I certainly wouldn't call myself anything as grand as chairman. I think I call myself director, which means sort of involved in everything, including tea making. It's lovely to be here, and thank you to you, Jerry, Dulcie, everyone involved in this wonderful group. I'm glad you mentioned questions as well, because I certainly don't want to be talking at you for the whole of this time. I'd love to make this a conversation. I'd love to hear responses and questions. So I think what I'll do with this limited time is say a little bit about the mission of Action for Happiness, not so much to promote the organization, but really as what I hope is a galvanizing force. It certainly is in my life about how I'd like to live. And I hope for many of us on this call, it's an ethos, it's a way of being with ourselves, but crucially with others, that I think the world needs so urgently, perhaps more urgently now than ever before. And I'd obviously love to hear your responses to that. I'd like to take up Chris's kind offer of sharing a few of the things that we're doing, particularly insofar as that might help you, both to use those resources for yourselves, but also potentially to spread the word and help others. But I'd also like to share, if you'd be willing, a few reflections on what's going on in the world right now and why happiness is so important. Not some fluffy, nice to have side issue, but it's at the very heart of what we want for ourselves, what we want for our loved ones, but it's also sorely needed in a world that's increasingly polarized, that's facing huge threats. And, you know, of course, happiness isn't about being smiley happy all the time or running away from problems. It's about facing into whatever life throws at us and being able to be resilient and to live the best possible life given all of its imperfections, the loss, the sadness, the adversity, the challenge. Happiness isn't about ignoring those things. It's about responding constructively to whatever life throws at us. So I hope that sounds like a good use of the limited time we've got, and very much looking forward to hearing your questions. But let me take a step back to why does Action for Happiness exist and what is it? We're building a community, much as this is a lovely community of people here with a shared interest in creating a happier world. That's really on a global stage what we're trying to do with Action for Happiness. And it's both large in terms of its vision. We have now 200,000 active members, well over 1 million followers online, and our resources have been used by millions of people, which is a huge privilege and a great chance to have that little ripple effect on the world. But it's very personal too. So the central essence of Action for Happiness is a pledge that I've made in my own life, and I know many others on this call may share this idea that we can each live in a way that contributes to creating a happier world. So that does involve me, you know, each of us individually, how we look after ourselves, our own mental health, our mindfulness practice. I love that meditation you took us through, Dulcie. That was lovely. And the way we sort of nurture ourselves and take care of ourselves. But it's much more than just that. It's about how do we create a world where that is everybody's experience. So how can we be as a parent to create more happiness? How can we be as a friend, as a community member, as a colleague, as a member of society more generally? So each of us have much more power to influence the happiness of others than we realize. Yes, we can affect our happiness, we can affect those people around us, but we have this ripple effect. Our emotions, our behaviors, our attitudes genuinely change our interactions with others and inspire others. So by cultivating your own happiness, that's not a selfish behavior. I love that phrase that says you can't pour from an empty cup. That's true insofar as we can't really help others until we're looking after ourselves. But it's also true that when we're in a good psychological and emotional state, we are a better friend, a better parent, a better community member. We really do become more of a force for good in the world. So thank you to everyone on this call who's doing that in your lives in whatever way that happens. So I'd like to sort of draw a distinction between Action for Happiness and some other wonderful things that happen in the world. So first of all, there's a very well-established self-help movement, which is wonderful. Lots of people taking action to improve their own lives. There's also, on the other hand, a wonderful range of altruistic activities in the world, people trying to make the world a better place. I think what's unique about Action for Happiness is the combination of those two things. This idea that we're looking after ourselves, and we're looking after each other. So in one phrase, I would describe our mission as a happier world through helping each other. That's what we want to see, a world where more people are thriving, fewer people are struggling with isolation, anxiety, loneliness, whatever it might be. And the route to doing that is through helping each other. It's a togetherness thing. And so this course that Chris mentioned, Exploring What Matters, I'd like to mention from a couple of angles. Firstly, insofar as it brings people together, but secondly, because of that title, Exploring What Matters. So I might end on that, because I think that's really the question the world is asking itself right now, or at least should be asking itself, which is what does really matter in life. This crisis has been an opportunity to wake up to what really matters, and we can do, I think, a lot more to embrace that in our own lives, and also to spread that awakening, if you like, to people in these troubled times. But first of all, on the togetherness aspect. So we've done all kinds of things with our movement. Many of you will be aware that we have a program that runs all year round. We have monthly themes based on our 10 keys to happier living that Jerry mentioned, which I guess may come up later in this session as well. So each month follows a theme. We've just finished Joyful June, about positive emotions. We're just beginning Jump Back July, all about resilience and coping. We'll then move on to Altruistic August. They follow these rather painful alliterating titles. And then each month has a calendar of actions. So every day has a specific action. We have over 100,000 users on our app, which share the actions each day. I noticed that Josie's actually on this call. Is that right, Josie? Josie does a wonderful job of managing a lot of our online communities, including on our app, and responding to all the thousands of comments and lovely things people share and post every day. So gratitude to Josie, among many others on this call. So that's wonderful. That's a great online program of themes and actions that people can get involved with. But that's really an awareness raising. It's the beginning of a journey. It's helping people recognize that a little action each day does make a difference. But our great passion is bringing people together face to face. Now, this is a lovely example of a face-to-face connection in an online world. And it's amazing what can be done with Zoom. And thank you to all of you involved in organizing this. We've particularly focused today in-person face-to-face, where we think there's an even more of a connection happens. Now, at the moment, we're not able to meet in happy cafes, and I saw Stan's on the call who created the happy cafe concept, and obviously this is an example of a happy cafe, meeting in community centres, in pubs, all the places people like to gather. That isn't sadly possible right now, so this is a wonderful substitute, and in many ways brings a new dimension because we can meet from all around the world. But what we found is when people get together for conversations that matter, that's when life-changing things happen. So we spend a lot of our lives talking about the shopping and the weather and the politics or the football, whatever it might be, these sort of slightly trivial conversations, and not enough of our lives having conversations that matter, talking about our innermost experiences, our fears, our relationships, our passions. This is what really brings life, what makes life worth living. And so the extent to which we can take off our mask to reveal our real selves and have these meaningful conversations, that's the aim of the Exploring What Matters course. Help people have conversations that matter, not in a group therapy, not with some expert teacher telling you the answers, but just as a group of friendly, like-minded people, as we are this evening, just sharing and listening to each other. And we've been running that for many years. Many thousands of people have attended those courses in hundreds of locations. And the scientists have done an independent trial of it and shown that it leads to improvements in our own well-being, reductions in mental health issues. But most importantly to me, this experience helps us become kinder and more trusting. And those are two things our world needs so much more right now, this idea of togetherness and our common humanity. So I think I might close on that theme, actually, coming back to this question. So the title of the course is Exploring What Matters. And I've been driven in my own life as I left a corporate background where I was deeply disillusioned. I had a sort of, almost a crisis in my life, with hindsight, very close to some kind of breakdown of thinking, I've been told all these stories about a good life. I've been working hard and running up a ladder and trying to achieve in my career. And yet this is a broken story about happiness and progress. And it was when I woke up to what really mattered, pursuing a cause I believe in, having loving friendships, letting go of caring what others think about me and my external image. Just reprioritizing. That was really transformative. And I think that's the most powerful aspect of the Action for Happiness mission and the course, which is helping people wake up to our own individual response to that. So right now, the world has just been sort of in this crazy situation. There's this bizarre juxtaposition I find in my own life of utter fear and anxiety about what's going on in the world. My loved ones are in sort of at-risk conditions. My sister gave birth during lockdown, which is quite a frightening experience, although the baby Hope is fortunately very well, which is a great delight. But at the same time, a huge amount of gratitude for a life being slightly calmer and more time at home with my wife and children, and a sort of sense of, you know, time to focus on what's important. And so it's difficult holding these two things in balance, this sort of terrifying global thing that's happening, and yet also recognizing there's so much good, there's so much amazing kindness that's come out of this. If you look at what's happened in response to coronavirus, there's been an outpouring of togetherness and kindness, and it's lovely to see. And I think around the world, people are having this chance to wake up to what really matters. So I'm going to invite us all just to finish this session with me waffling at you, and look forward to your questions in a moment, by asking you each this question about what really matters in life. And I'd like to do this through an exercise we use in the course in the first week, actually. So I'd like you to imagine, you can close your eyes to do this if you like, but I'd like you to imagine that you're some way further down your life path than you are now. I won't say at the end of your life, but, you know, further down your journey, wherever that may be. And you're looking back as your future self on the things that have happened in your life, the highs, the lows, the things you're grateful for, the things you maybe wish had happened differently. And in this future self mode, you're trying to reflect on what really matters. And I'd now like to imagine that future you is turning back to your current self to give you some advice about what really matters. So what would your future self say to you right now about what really matters? What should you be doing more of? What maybe doesn't matter so much? What can you let go of? And I found that when I first did this, it had a transformative impact on my life. And I'll share in a moment what I said, but maybe let's just pause and take maybe 5 or 10 seconds of quiet just to reflect on that. What advice would your future self give you about what really matters right now? And when I did this exercise, I found myself saying, spend more time with the people you really love, doing the things that you really care about, and try and let go of what others think of you and the other noise that perhaps doesn't matter so much. Now, there's nothing new under the sun there. It's no great spiritual revelation, but I do think there's some wisdom in tuning into that. So I'd be delighted to take questions and hear any responses to that. There's a lot more we could say about it, but just to reiterate, we have just launched today, it's the 1st of July, our new monthly theme on resilience, Jump Back July. If you haven't already seen it, Vanessa King, our psychology expert, has recorded a lovely little live stream that's on our Twitter feed, YouTube channel and Facebook, introducing this month's theme with some top tips on resilience. There's a new calendar. Do join the app. If you search for Action for Happiness on any of the app stores, you'll get the daily actions every day. You'll be part of this lovely community of supportive people. But I wanted to end by saying a massive thanks to everyone for being here and for inviting me to speak. And I hope there were some points within that monologue that were helpful in some way.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. That's brilliant. And yeah, we're going to actually show the calendar in a minute and go through, just show everybody the calendar and where they can get them from each month. This brilliant calendar, give you something to do every day to increase your happiness. So we'll come to the calendar. And the looking back, I've read somewhere that 80% of your happiness comes from friends and interactions with people. The other 20% probably comes from cars and football and curry, but 80% from your friends. And during the lockdown, we set up a little WhatsApp group in our road where all the neighbors could all talk over. And that's been fantastic. And we've got to know all these people in our road who, you know, we didn't even really know their names before, which is ridiculous when they live 3 houses away that way. And so that's been something that's come from it. But anyway, is there anything that anyone would like to ask Mark about Action for Happiness or happiness generally? I can see Jerry's got his hand up there. Jerry always. Go on then, Jerry.
Oh, just a quickie. I just wonder if Mark's seen any uptake in membership and awareness of Action for Happiness since the lockdown, since the COVID pandemic. In the last 3 months, have people turned to Action for Happiness for some support and help?
Yes, Jerry, we've been busier than ever, really, which on one hand is wonderful because more people are engaging with our resources, but of course it represents something really significant happening in the world. More people feeling anxious, more people feeling disconnected. We've tried to adapt what we do in response to the difficult situation. So all the calendars have been adjusted so that the actions are relevant. So particularly in April and May, they were all things that you could do under lockdown in your own house. They didn't require you to be outside or connecting with others. And we tried to make sure they were relevant to key workers and all these different challenging situations. We also launched an introductory 10-day program about the 10 keys to happy living. It's called 10 Days of Happiness. And if you go to 10daysofhappiness.org, it's an online sort of coaching program that just gives you an action nudge a day. You have a digital coach called Leah who sends you a little action. You type in your response and then she reminds you of what you said. And it just lasts for 10 days. So if you're fairly new to this and you've not seen the 10 keys before, or as I do regularly, you just like a refresher and somebody to nudge you to do a few things every day in an interactive way, it's a lovely program. And of course, if you wanted to share this with others that you feel could use a boost or might be new to this, it's a really great way of letting people know about it. So yes, there has been an increase in demand. I think there's been an increase, Jerry, in conversations about mental health, which is good to see, about social connection, about the importance of relationships. I think actually in the public conversation, we've seen much more recognition that our mental well-being matters, that our relationships matter. So although there's quite a lot about what's happened policy-wise that I'm very frustrated about, and of course still worried about in terms of our overall health and well-being, I am really encouraged that more people are talking about the psychological impact, the need for social support and connection and addressing loneliness and so on. And this stuff is so important.
Well, that's good. If I can just add, we're hoping over the next few months to talk about these matters. I know Richard Layard, Lord Layard's going to come talk to us about Can We Be Happier? And Anthony Seldon's going to say a few words at some future date. So we're going to address some of the issues which you've mentioned. Anyway, I've said enough. Back to the meeting.
Yes, we've got some amazing speakers coming up in future months. Our plan is for this just to get bigger and bigger, by the way, everyone. You know, we sort of had this vision, we might have like 1,000 of us all tuning in once a month. Wouldn't that be epic? And so you're here on this first one, a little moment of history. We're not doing it because we want power or anything like that. It just would be, I just think we would have, it's a bit like that theory about when you have thousands of people all meditating together, how it all sort of magnifies. And we sort of thought if we had loads of people on a Zoom call, it would just be powerful. Right, we've maybe got time for one more question for Mark. If anybody else wants to ask him so.
Question, Chris.
Go for it, Dulcie.
I think Kerry wants to ask a question.
Oh, there's too many names to see. Oh yeah, Kerry, yes. Go for it, Kerry, and welcome. You have to unmute yourself though. I don't think I can unmute you because that's against privacy rules or something. Go for it.
Hi there. Hi. So I had a question for you, Mark, around, so I've been back working in the NHS for the last 6 months and doing a lot of work around staff wellbeing. And I just wondered, you said you came from a corporate environment. How do we take some of this into those sort of corporate and public sector environments?
In 5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's particularly challenging in something like the NHS where there's such a lot of pressure and genuine sort of psychological challenges, especially right now, but obviously constantly. I think there are two different ways of answering that. One is, ideally, you would engage the leaders of organizations to understand how much this matters. And we do an exercise with corporate leaders or leaders of all kinds of organizations where we get them to think about a time they were at their best at work. In fact, you can all do this now. It's an interesting exercise. Think about a time in your working lives when you felt that you were really thriving, you were doing good work, you enjoyed your work, it was you at your best at work. Try and bring to mind something specific. And then what we do once people have got that example is ask them a series of questions and we say, was there a time when you were particularly well paid? You can ask yourself that question. Most people sort of hardly any hands go up. Was there a time when the strategy in the organization was really super clear and a few hands go up? Or was it a time when communication across the organization was particularly important? And again, a few hands go up. And then we ask 3 other questions. Was this a time when you felt trusted to get on with things the way you felt would work best? And every hand goes up. Was it a time when you felt that you had positive relationships with the people you were working with? Every hand pretty much goes up. And was it a time when you felt that what you did made a difference and mattered in some way? And again, almost everyone says yes. So within that little exercise, what you see is the 3 most important components of flourishing at work are, and that means being productive. All the things that bosses want are trust people and give them a chance to do what they do, let them have control of their destiny to some extent, help people have positive relationships in their working environment, and help them see why what they do matters. Yes, of course, pay matters and working conditions matter and stress and anxiety levels. But if people feel connected to others, trusted, and that what they do matters, that is just incredibly important. And I think in something like the NHS, where it's so easy to show someone how what they do matters, and you know how and to encourage positive relationships, unfortunately, you see a lot of bureaucracy, process, sort of things that undermine that thriving at work. So I would love to help leaders, Kerry, see the importance of happiness and well-being, why it is so vital for success, and that the human characteristics that drive that are much more important than the bureaucracy and the process and the KPIs and all those things. But then at a sort of work individual level, the good news as I see it is we can make a difference, even in a team environment that is maybe toxic or where a manager doesn't get this. The way we behave in our organizations, in our relationships, generally in our communities, does make a difference. So we can choose to be that person that takes an interest in others, makes eye contact, asks people how they are, notices when people are struggling, communicates openly if the workload is too much. This is the honest situation when we can't cope with this. You know, being a voice for how things really are, being authentic, being just willing to speak up for what matters. So it's really hard in big organizations under pressure. But if we can't change the leadership, we can at least make that little difference ourselves. And we have lots of resources. So if any of you work in organizations where you're keen to bring this in, we can bring in various sort of types of training and advice, and there's lots of other resources. There's no silver bullet, because ultimately it's about people and how they treat each other. But it is possible to make a massive difference in workplaces. Did that at least partially answer your question?
I think so, yeah. It's we're definitely on progress. We're starting the journey.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a brilliant answer. I thought, what's he going to say? I couldn't think of an answer. So thank you, Mark. Stan's got his hand up, but also Viva India, I can see there, wanted to ask a question, I think. You haven't got your video on, so I don't know, but are you there, Viva? Oh yeah, you have got your video on. Yes, I mean we're sort of over time, and we've got to keep this to an hour. We kind of thought we should keep this to an hour, and we've got a couple of other things to do after this. But a quick question, Viva.
Interesting to listen to you sharing, Mark. Thank you so much for doing that. My question is that the course Action for Happiness offers, is there any piece on gratitude in that course? Or maybe my broader question is that what connect do you see between gratitude and happiness?
Thank you, Viva. That's a lovely, very important question. I think gratitude is fundamental for happiness. It's part of my daily practice and has been ever since I discovered that idea of stopping at the end of each day and noting down things that have gone well. I have done that daily for many years, and it's been life-changing to help put things into context. So in fact, every session of the 8-week course that I mentioned begins with a tuning in, has a moment of mindfulness, a bit like the lovely exercise that Dulcie took us through, and then has a specific activity on gratitude so people can share good things. And a lovely thing to do in any group is to ask people what's been good for them recently. So I find you can use this in your day-to-day relationships. When I see my children, I don't say, how was your day? I say, what was good today? It gives them an invitation to focus on something that was constructive, even in a difficult time. That's not to say we should shut out the difficult emotions, but I think we all have an opportunity to share what we're grateful for and invite others to notice that, because it can be the difference between, it can fundamentally shift our mind space. And I find that when I've focused on what I'm grateful for, I sleep better, I'm more enthusiastic, I listen to others more, it just reframes everything. So I'm very grateful for your question, because that's a really important point. Thank you.
Yeah. Now I was going to say no more questions, but Stan wanted to ask one, and I'm going to allow it.
Stan.
Because Stan is a legend. So,
the legend Stan came up with the Happy Cafe concept definitely deserves to speak. Stan, how are you?
Absolutely.
You're muted.
He's muted. I'll just tell you why he's a legend until, Stan, you have to unmute yourself, and I can't unmute you because that's against privacy rules. You have to unmute yourself. And here he is.
Okay, yeah, well, I just wanted to add to what Mark was saying about how we get the message across in corporations, that happy cafes are actually designed to reach out to the community at large. So that means that we set ourselves up in a variety of settings, including workplaces, but also obviously high street coffee shops, community centres, universities, schools, even sort of climbing gyms, and any places where the public at large can come in and see our materials, our posters and our postcards. And in that way, I'm hoping that this will all help to change the culture of our society, which I think is the crucial thing at the moment, to get ourselves away from this kind of materialistic mindset that's set in, which is responsible for most of our problems, and switch to a focus on meeting our psychological needs, which I think is going to be absolutely fundamental as a way of getting through the various constraints of climate change and the pandemic. We won't be able to go out. Cheap travel will be a thing of the past. I think shopping till you drop will be a thing of the past. And there's going to be an enormous gap here in terms of how people can live satisfying lives. And I think that what we do can fill that gap. And as such, what we're doing now is more important than ever.
Yeah. And something we can ponder maybe on another meeting is that all of you could set up your own happiness cafes in different places all around the world, or around the country. And
yeah, absolutely.
Because it was actually quite easy to set. We'll come back to that later because it's going to take a while, but I really like the idea of setting up lots of happy cafes, as well as also setting up groups around the Exploring What Matters course.
We've already set up over 100 all around the world, you know.
Yeah,
it's catching
such a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're hoping to keep doing this Zoom one, but also to get some more physical ones going on as well. You know, you can do both. So anyway, there's Winnie the hamster, by the way. So, but we must press on. So next, we're going to just spend 5 minutes. Sally's going to just pick a couple of the comments on what's made people happy. You've probably seen the feed going through when you're meant to have been concentrating on the other things. Sally, what caught your mind? You have to unmute. Yes. What caught your eye on the things that have made people happy recently?
Well, it's such a varied amount of things. Everybody's doing brilliant things to be happy. So we've had things from early morning swims to sunflowers blooming, meeting their 2-week-old grandson. How exciting is that? I wondered if I could just call just very briefly on a couple of people to talk a bit more about what they're doing. And the first one is Desiree Van Schagem, to talk about how she's been walking in the Alps, just to show how global we are.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Desiree. I'm from the Netherlands originally. And it was Toshiko who invited me here. So I'm very happy to meet all of you. It sounds more exciting than it is because I live in Italy, close to the Alps. But as all of you know, we had a very, very serious lockdown here, very severe for many months. So I thrive in nature and with people. And so I've been spending 5 days last week in the Alps hiking. And during lockdown, I did the class. I think many of you have heard about the science of well-being, which talks a lot about what I heard about in this talk as well, which made me want to connect even more with people that were on the hike with me, but also be very much in the moment, like really savoring the time now more than ever, with the possibility of being in nature. And especially now, because when you go pretty high up, everything is on bloom. We saw, I don't know if you say that in English, the marmots and the mountain goats. And even just thinking about it now, it was simply amazing. So that made me very happy.
Yeah, we're all quite jealous of that.
Bigger. Yeah, I live in a very wonderful place. So it's probably bigger this time than what I would say would normally make me happy. But I'm happy to share.
Yeah, the lockdown has made us appreciate lots of things we took for granted.
Yes,
hasn't it?
Absolutely.
So Yeah. Sally, one more. We've got time for one more.
One more. I'd just like to ask Toshiko about being in the Alps and having a cheese tasting party. Sorry, not being in the Alps, being at the Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower, because you're living in France, aren't you? Although you're Japanese. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. And I am taking a French class and with all kinds of international classmates. And because of the lockdown, we only met 2 times in a class. And afterwards, all the classes were conducted by Zoom. And at the end of the course, teacher suggested to do a picnic so that we can meet in person again. And then we are going to do a dégustation de fromage, that's a cheese tasting. And because he, as a teacher, French language teacher, he has to also introduce all the culture of the France. And he chose to do the cheese. And then we all contributed a certain amount, €5 for one participation. And he organized everything, different kind of a cheese. And we met in the big park in the inside of Paris, but there's a big park. And so that was very interesting. Actually, it was little bit risky, I thought, because as soon as when I was in a metro, I was a little bit more cautious. But then as soon as I put the mask off and then sat down on the picnic tables, I totally forgot about the COVID. So
Power of cheese.
Yeah, cheese was very good, and then each cheese he introduced, and then this explained what kind of a milk it was and how it was, which region it was. It was very, as Desiree said, I savored the moment, and it was very good. Thank you for letting me share this experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, food can definitely be a source of happiness, especially if you eat it with other people, because then you're getting everything, aren't you, really? And if you savor it, really savoring every type of cheese. I love it. Right, we've got to carry on now because we've got a couple more things to squeeze in because we're definitely trying to finish by 8. We were going to look at the calendar next, I think. I don't know if it's Julia or Dulcie who's going to show us this month's Action for Happiness calendar, which is the most brilliant thing, and it's free. You just download it from the website.
Hi, everyone.
Who's going to talk us through the calendar? Julia?
Yes, I will. Actually, it's so wonderful to be here with you all. Oh, what a joy to see so many people turning up. I mean, I'm so excited. Look at all of us. Isn't this wonderful to see everyone? Faces, happy faces, taking time for this. It's so good. So I'm cheering you on. Keep doing that and send the ripple out to as many people as you can so that they can all enjoy this moment with us next.
Where are you speaking from?
All right. I'm actually speaking from Germany.
Oh, really?
Yes, we took a leap of faith and flew over to Germany to spend a few days here, and it's rather fascinating to be in a completely different country, and all of a sudden it's kind of a culture shock going into our home country, which is dealing with the post or still like after waves of this pandemic very differently than the UK, where we've been handling things without face masks, and here is everything with face masks. But you know, it's good, having a good time. Thank you for asking.
I was going to say you tidied up your house. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, it's no.
I'm kidding. Julia's got the most immaculate house, everybody, if you don't know her. But next month you'll be back in your house, so we'll all be able to see your actual house, won't we, and compare it.
Exactly. I make a real good mess, so you can look forward to that then.
Yeah.
So I'm excited actually to be having this joy to share something about the calendar. And it is a joy because let me tell you a little bit of how I see that calendar. And maybe it makes sense if I explain that to you in a little bit of a different picture. So I don't know about you, but when you were little and you were maybe a child or a teenager and you had this little spare time and you were able to get some pocket money and to go out and go into like the high street or some shops, and you found this extra special candy store, you know, like the one with the colors and the few items you just so cherished, and they were so sweet and some were sour, and they were just like, oh, explosions of joy in your mouth. And so why do I talk about that? Well, actually, I love stationery. So for me, stationery, haha, Debbie, I get a big thumbs up. I love stationery. So for me, my sweet shop is not anymore a candy store. For me, it's a stationery shop. So now I love going in and finding diaries and calendars and pens and all these lovely things and magnets and sticky notes and all of that. So, okay, you know, I'm outing myself here as a bit of a stationery nerd. But it comes in really handy that we have the joy to every month visit this colorful candy store, and we get this beautiful calendar delivered from Action for Happiness right into our mailbox, right downloadable from the actual webpage. And so I'm so excited, like a little child, when that comes out. And it is meaningful as well. And it, you know, doesn't carry any calories. Isn't that fantastic? So it's just wonderful. And the science behind it, I haven't even looked into that, but it's so brilliantly done that every month you have this element of it's a daily task. But isn't it just so wonderful that we can combine a to-do list with a to-be list just right there? Because it's a task, a daily to-do list, but to be a different person. You get to be a better person by doing your daily tasks. I mean, this is just genius. So well done, Action for Happiness. Thank you so much on behalf of my inner child. And so maybe we can just share a little bit, Dulcie, if you would be able to share the screen so that people can actually see what I'm talking about. So here it is. Jump Back July is this month's theme. And it says with a little quote, usually it comes with a quote, we can't control what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond. So we get hints and tips to send our thoughts into a positive mindset. And maybe if it's very clear for you to read, or maybe not, I'll just point out a few. So today, the task was be willing to ask for help when you need it today and always. I mean, what a great start. And again, this is every day is a nudge into the right way to be a better you and be a better contributor to other people's health and well-being. It's never just about yourself. It's always about the community and about being better together. And I'm hoping I'm summing this up in a way that Mark is agreeing to this and Action for Happiness. At least you've got a good fan in me. Anyway, so please download these calendars, share them on social media, as they are just a wonderful nudge and a daily reminder. And what I recently did, I actually linked it to my digital calendar. So now it's part of my daily calendar. I use iCal, which is mentioned down below. And can you see that Google Calendar or iCal file? So you can just link it into your digital system and it pops up daily as your reminder. How easy and gorgeous. So I'm not sure if we actually cover this every month, but we will definitely point it out every month and maybe have other topics to share from now on. But this month is Jump Back July. So everyone, Jump Back July. And
yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Julia. Yeah, as Mark said, they struggled a bit really with the letter J there, didn't they? But what a great calendar. Really, really clever. And in fact, I've just been caught out because it says on there something about not being judgmental. And there I am saying that the J was a bit of a struggle. So the calendar's great. I've put a link in the comments as well. So you can go there and you can download it, print it out, or as Julia said, just have an automatic link. So it pops up on your phone every day. So that's really good. Now, we've got 6 minutes left and we've only got really 2 things to go. And the last one is Jerry just handing off and saying that we'll see you in a month. But we've got a couple of minutes for me to do my monthly tip. I'm going to do a monthly happiness tip each month. And because I haven't got very much time, I'm going to do a very quick one, which is just to say that animals are happiness positive. This is really in honor of the hamster that we've been looking at. Animals are happy. I don't know if you know, but children are actually happiness neutral. And animals, pets, are happiness positive. And if you ask somebody whether their children make you happy, they will, of course, say yes. And actually children probably are, you know, plus 100, but then sometimes they're sort of minus 30 as well on the happinessometer, aren't they? Sometimes they drive you mad. So they're probably plus 70, but not having children is also plus 70, because not having children means that you have more time, more money, you know, your body hasn't been ravaged by producing them or whatever. So the research says that children are actually happiness neutral. So if you haven't got children, that's absolutely fine. But what I really want to say was that animals are happiness positive. By the way, I think grandchildren might be happiness positive. I think with grandchildren, you might be able to get all the plus and none of the work. No nappies, none of that. Just play with them and be naughty. But pets are definitely happiness positive. Cats and dogs and hamsters and things. So if you haven't got any pets at all, you know, try to find a way to interact with animals a bit, and that will increase your happiness. Just stroke somebody else's dog, get permission first. If you meet them out on a walk, or if you've got friends, or if you can look after somebody's dog for a couple of days when they're away or whatever. Animals, definitely. There's nothing I like more than running my fingers through the luxurious fur of my dog. Anyway, that's a bit strange, but that's my tip of the month there. Interact with some animals. They will make you happy, and probably grandchildren. Right. So over to Jerry to conclude this first ever Happiness Cafe.
Well, what a build-up, Chris, and thank you for passing the baton to me. Before I say a few words, I just want to remind everybody that Dulcie's got a lovely dog that needs some help with at some future point. She's looking for a home, I think. So we'll talk to Dulcie about that.
Well, a temporary one or a permanent one?
I don't know, Dulcie, tell us about your dog situation.
No, temporary home. And actually he's the most glorious, silly golden retriever who adores children. And we're away for 4 weeks, fingers crossed, COVID permitting, on a boat in the summer. And it would be lovely that he was loved in a loving family. So a loving family has put their hand up already, Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see how it goes. Okay, well, look, thanks to everyone for joining us today. It's been a great start. I particularly want to thank Mark for joining us, and Stan from Action for Happiness. And Lane, I'm sorry, Lane, we haven't given you an opportunity to speak, but hopefully you'll be with us at the next meeting and talk about what you're doing at the university. And I particularly also like to thank people who've contributed from around the world. I know we've got guests from, I believe, India somewhere, Egypt, I can't quite remember the names, and certainly from Europe we can see we've got some people. And I just had an email from Isaac Prolensky, who some of us met at the Oahu event last year. He was trying to log on but couldn't get on through Eventbrite, so he hasn't made it today, but I'm sure he'll be with us next time.
Yeah, he's going to be a speaker on one of these, isn't he, Jerry? Which is great because he's really hilarious.
Education in America and what's happening in the happiness movement there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally, my thanks must go to Chris, to Dulcie and Julia for hosting this meeting. We're a team here, and it's lovely to see everybody participating. I'm also going to mention Debbie and Kerry, who've both been working behind the scenes, and Sandra helping push me in the right direction. And of course, Sally, Aunt Sally, I've just spotted you there with the questions. So I'm going to leave by just saying we expect you to keep in touch with us. Our next meeting is on Monday, the 3rd of August, and I will be writing to you all by email, assuming you've got your correct emails. And we'll send out the Zoom details in advance of that meeting. And Lord Richard Layard has offered to come and talk to us, and I've suggested that might be a good date for him to come, but we've got several other people wanting to come address our meetings. So finally, I'd like to thank you all for attending, and please go and tell your friends, your families, and your work associates, and invite them to join us as well, so together we can make a difference.
Yeah, Jerry, can I?
Yes.
Sorry, Jerry, it's Mark here. Yeah. I wanted to thank you again, but just make a little suggestion at the end, back on my message around togetherness.
Yes.
Just an invitation to all of us, just as you end this call, we could all potentially unmute and just wave and say goodbye to create a bit more of a group sense of togetherness at the end. So,
never tried that.
Master stroke. Well done, Mark. So, yeah, you have to unmute yourself. And we look forward to seeing you again in a month's time. This is going to grow. This is fantastic.
Yeah. See you all in a month, everybody. Unmute.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Julia.
Bye-bye.
30 p.m.
A lot of enthusiastic waving going on there. Bye.
See you all.
Brilliant. Great to see you all.
Bye-bye. Looking forward to seeing you all again.
Bye, Chris.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Chris, Julia, Nancy and I will probably stay on just to use the time to say hi.
Bye, Chidi. Bye, Paola.
I see gentlemen called Chid. Where are you from? Where are you connected from?
Hi, Jerry. I'm May from Egypt.
Egypt.
Oh, May.
Yes.
This is the young lady.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I just got. Yeah, I got tanned. I just I was on my way from the beach, so I'm just have a shower.
Fantastic. Lovely to see you. What time is it in Egypt? Where are you in Egypt?
It's 9 p.m.
Oh, that's not too late.
Yeah.
And, yeah, well, you're looking well. So what are you up to?
Thank you.
Are you studying or are you doing happy things?
I've just finished the Certificate of Happiness from the Happiness Studies Academy at Tal Ben-Shahar.
Yeah.
That with the keynote speaker at the summit where we met last year.
Yeah.
And I'm working at the American University in Cairo, but I'm working remotely, as for the COVID-19 pandemic that kept us all staying at home.
In Egypt, we never hear about the situation in Egypt.
Yeah, no, most of the people are staying at home, but now we started gradually to escape to the beaches. That's why.
Oh, right. Don't all come to Bournemouth. We're a bit overloaded here.
Yeah.
It's lovely to speak to you, May. I just want to ask the gentleman, looks like, is it Chid? Where are you from, Chid? Where are you calling in from?
Right
in
now.
Belfast.
Belfast. I'm sorry, May, I'm talking to Chid now. I'm going to talk.
Okay.
Chid's talking from Belfast. Welcome to our meeting. How did you hear about us?
Can't hear him, even though he's not muted.
Ah, no. Can you hear us, Chid? There's no sound coming from your lips. Very strange. No?
We're just talking to Chid.
No. Can you hear us, Chid? No? All right, let's move to Hinch. Hinch, where are you talking from? Oh, you need to unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself? All right, well, that's not working.
The host could unmute Hinch. I
Yes.
can't.
I can't.
I'm here. Oh,
yes.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
We couldn't hear you. Hinch, tell us where you're calling from.
Do you?
No, it's
She's muted and unmuted because there's a time lag.
all right.
So just when you think it hasn't worked.
Is it
press
all right
again.
now? Do you hear me?
Fine.
Yes.
Keep talking.
Right. I'm not so far from. I'm from Christchurch in Dorset.
Oh, that's no good.
Yes. This is my half of my surname there, Hinch. So my name is Gülşen. Yes, it's wonderful to be with you.
Good.
And I was looking for a group of people like you. I'm so glad that I'm with you now.
Good. Well, thank you. You're
Thank
welcome to join us.
Thank you.
Ask, is it Vibha in India, gratitude champion? Can you hear me, Vibha?
Yes.
Ah, so where are you calling in from?
So right now I am calling in from south part of India, southern part.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, we don't hear much about India in the news. Presumably you have issues with COVID, but are you coping there?
There have been many issues. I personally went through very challenging times, so much so that last month I drove for 3 days from Delhi, which is capital of New India, to southern part of India where my dad is, and he was quite unwell. So I myself drove just to be with him amidst all this challenging time.
Yeah.
Very difficult. But yes, my gratitude practice came very handy all the way. It boosted my immunity also.
Right, good. Well, give him our regards and thank you for joining us. Can I quickly move on to Paola? Paola Brown is another name I don't recognize. Where are you talking from, Paola? We can't hear you.
Yeah, she's not muted.
No.
Mm.
Technology. Don't know.
The microphone must have dropped out or something.
If you can hear me, Paula, are you in the UK? Thumbs up if you're in the UK. No?
I'll pop it on the message.
Yeah, in that case, chat box.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, a technical question to Chris, Dulcie and Julia. Are we recording the chat box? Because mine disappeared. It's come back now, but have we got a record of it somewhere?
Yeah, I've got a copy of it.
Right.
By the way, a message for Paolo. If you go where it says mute, if you click on the little arrow just to the right, you can select a microphone. And it might be that you've selected a microphone that isn't plugged in or something like that. I don't know. It's worth a try.
But welcome from Austria, lovely Paola.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Chilean.
You all for I'm all right for a few minutes. Anybody else want to say anything? Stan, how's this compared to your Brighton Happy Cafes? Have we got the right formula here?
I think it compares very, very favourably. I'm just making sure I'm unmuted. Yeah. We did a similar sort of thing a couple of weeks ago, and we got people coming along from India, in fact, from a number of provinces, Kerala, and another one, where was it? In the Punjab, yeah. And from Germany, of course. It works. This is the wonderful thing about the new technology now, and in a way, COVID has been a blessing, because it's really managed to bring people together from all around the UK and all around the world, in fact.
Yeah.
And this is something that I really wanted to do when I set up the Happy Cafe Network, to get people in touch with with the people who have joined us around the world. And now we've got the opportunity, and we're certainly going to do as much as we can to spread the word around. And obviously what you're doing is very similar. And
it's all designed to help promote Action for Happiness movement. And you were the instigator of the Happy Cafe concept. And thank you for coming up with it.
Yeah, it all started, in fact, in Brighton in 2014.
Gosh. So,
and
we got all together now, globally.
And now we've got well, let's say well over 100 cafes have been set up around the world. Obviously, with COVID, we're not quite sure how many will be surviving when people get back together.
Yeah, if it's anything like my Rotary Club, I'm a Rotarian, and we've been meeting with live action meetings for years and years and years. Last 2 months, we've gone to Zoom, and now it's flourishing. We're getting more members, more people involved. So that is definitely a way forward, thanks to technology. Julia wants to say something. Thumbs up, Julia. No? You're quiet. No?
I only wanted to say yes. That's all great. So I wanted to just be applauding to Stan for initiating the Happy Cafes, and for letting you know that it's great to be part of this, Happy Cafe virtually, because I think it's a great alternative to have that extra and to pull the area wider. And so there will always be two. That's what I wanted to add. There will be the connection, the in-person meeting, because that's what we need so much. But isn't it wonderful to have this expansive version of a cafe? I mean, meeting for an hour in this kind of way. I mean, I really enjoyed this. So that's all I wanted to say.
The time went really quickly, didn't it? There's loads of stuff we could talk about next time.
A couple of questions. I mean, tonight was a bit of a pilot for us. Do you think we've got the right formula for 1 hour, or shall we make it longer? Any answers? Any thoughts? No answers. No answers. No.
I think given the number of participants who joined, this is Vibha from India, I think we could make it a little longer, because there was so much of interest and enthusiasm in people to share and listen to others.
Indeed. Well, we'll definitely do that. I mean, we can certainly ramp it up 90 minutes or longer if we need. Okay, good. Does Paola or Chid want to say anything? We didn't actually hear from you earlier. If you can hear me, Paola, do you want to say anything, or Chid?
I can hear you, but
we can hear you now, Paola.
Yeah, very faintly, but we can hear you.
What time is it in your country, Paola? And Chid, you're in Belfast, so it must be the same as us here, 7, 8 p.m., yeah?
Yeah, Paola's an hour ahead of us.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, I think, anything else need to say, Chris?
No, I think we could probably do 90 minutes next time. It sounds like a long time, but it actually went really quickly.
Indeed. And we didn't really give many people an opportunity to talk about what made them happy. I mean,
no, which would be really great. Just a few more people talking about that.
Yeah.
And Mark didn't take very long, bless him, very professional. But you could easily, if we get Prilitensky or whatever, however you pronounce his name, I really want him to have half an hour because he's brilliant and he's so hilarious.
We can big him up. We can build him up a little bit because he's suggesting October would work for him. So
yeah,
that's fine. But he had a technical issue. He sent me a message whilst we were online saying he's trying to get on through Eventbrite and it wasn't working. Can we try again, sort of thing?
What a wimp, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree, Sue, making it a little bit longer. I think, we could in the beginning play around with it, how it works, and see how we feel about it and how the engagement is keeping up. Because we also don't want people to just zoom out of that call and just leave it blank. And so we want them engaged. Yes. And the more engaged we can get people, the better their takeaways are. Indeed. And so it's wonderful to have a guest speaker and then have these mini items. I like the fact that we had it spread out from many people, so that keeps the attention high.
Yeah,
we certainly had a good number of people saying they would have come tonight, but they couldn't make it for other reasons. So we had, I think, 48 today. So we may end up with more next time. I'm sure we will. I think we're going to run a little video next time, a video opener. And of course, we can show more graphic material. I think it would be worth having a few slides to pop up. Certainly the calendar worked well, and there are some other things we could offer from the Action for Happiness. And we didn't really stop to talk about the 10 keys, the keys to happier living. And that's something Vanessa King has offered to help us with. So she's going to talk to us one month. So we could do something with that and some of the graphics.
Well, I'm sure like Stan has so much experience in the happy cafes as well, and you probably agree to that sharing is such a big part of creating a community. So if we have a slot or maybe 2 slots where we can integrate people's voices, then I think that would be good. So maybe have chunks of 2 in the beginning and at the end. Yeah. It's like sharing from real people to real people and with real emotion.
I don't know whether you can do it, but in our Brighton cafes, we have breakout sessions in rooms consisting of 3 or 4 people, so they can talk to each other for a time about whatever topic you have in.
We can do it if we have the time, definitely. Yeah. We've got the technology, it's just whether we've got the time.
Exactly. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It might be nice to do that for the sharing what makes you happy.
Yeah.
So people are sharing it at least with 5, 6, 8 other people.
And I agree. And then have a spokesman from a group. So we actually, cascading that knowledge through a inverted channel. Yeah. You follow my logic.
Yeah. Although the text feed worked pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't get to look at it. My eyesight's not that good.
Well, what can you do? You can probably make the font bigger.
I don't know. I need to look into that. I'm struggling to read it. Anyway, right. Well, I think it's time to go and have a drink.
Yeah, we'll see you all soon.
It'll have to be Horlicks.
Yeah.
Anyway, God bless you all.
Wine.
So much. And Julia, Elsie, Chris and I, we need to have a chat maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow or sometime. We'll email.
Yeah, let's email.
Thank you, Stan, for
Good
coming.
night.
Thank you, Stan.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Stan. Legend.
Bye, everyone.
Stan.
Bye.
Bye.